Thank you so much for joining the session. My name is Anuj, and today we are joining in to have a brief overview about what this course is going to be like and what you can expect from this workshop. So, thank you so much for joining in. And before we start, I would like to learn from you, who are you? What is your experience like? Whether it is from IT background, non-IT background, are you a complete fresher? Are you a student? So, whatever is your part of the story, please let me know so I understand where you're coming from, and whether you have some questions about what to expect from this workshop or something else, you can definitely ask me. Expect this workshop to be very interactive, so I might ask you questions. I would expect your responses, so please be available and attentive. I will just give a quick walkthrough of who I am. So I'm going to be your mentor for this workshop. My name is Anuj, and I'm a data scientist, and I'm also an educator. I have a passion of education and teaching. I've been doing this for almost 6 years now. So I have more than 10 years of experience in different industries, which includes your telecommunication. I worked with British Airways. I worked with Barclays Bank, which is a UK-based bank, for 7 years. And currently I'm working with one of the big firms in India. So across the industries, when I have worked, I have seen that there is different way of working in different geographical regions, and you know different industries that you work on, so the problems will be different and your understanding will define what problem are you trying to solve. And when you have different exposures, it allows you to understand how to approach the problem and solve it. So I'm going to share my experience with all of you, and hopefully you will definitely gain a lot of value from it. I have trained thousands of people across the globe. I have delivered trainings in Singapore, Hong Kong, UK, and India as well by default. So I've been doing this for more than 6 years now for part time, and hopefully you will gain a lot of value from this workshop. This has been specifically designed to help people like you to make the transitions or be successful in your careers. Before we get started, it's important to learn about what is your current state right now and where do you want to go, which is your expectations. So some of you have already shared that you have maybe an IT degree. Some of you have mechanical. Some of you have an MBA in business analytics, which is definitely a good place to start. Some of you have good knowledge with Python. Some of you have beginner level knowledge of Python, which is great. And the goal is primarily, I believe, is to switch career into data science. Okay. And I'm also expecting that the reason that we want to do that is because we want to get good salary hikes and good promotions, because it is taking over all over the place. We consistently see the news of laying offs of people, and new jobs are being created at the same time. But the question is, are we ready for those new jobs? And that is a difference that it makes from people who do not have a job at the moment and people who have consistent offers. So one person I believe is in Canada. I think it's Hiren who's in Canada right now. Sai, what about you? Where are you joining us from?
Yeah, 1 second, sir. I'm going to type the answer.
We are going to talk about what is data science. Okay. So data science, I would like to understand from both of you first. What do you think is data science in your understanding? What do you believe is data science? Thank you, Hiren. Thank you. I can see the chat right now. So, guys, what I would want you to do is, because we only have two people right now, so we will not utilize the chat section as much. We might have it, utilized going forward when we have a lot of people. So right now, I would want you to help me understand what is your understanding of what is data science. Starting with Sai, if you could unmute yourself and let us know.
Coming to me, data science means I'm thinking like to for analyzing the data or and providing the good solutions to the business leaders to helpful
Mhm.
their business.
Perfect.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sai. Hiren, what about you?
From my side, data science
Yes,
means gathering the data from the different sources and making it in such a way that in Excel sheet or any CVS format or any chart, readable chart, which can be utilized by the different parties like client or the big organization for their purpose.
perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing it. So you guys are basically right. So when it comes to data science, right, data science is basically studying the information, making sense of the data that is already available. Now, data is information. So when it comes to data, let's understand what is data in the first place. So I believe that you all use Instagram, you all use YouTube, Netflix, right, Amazon. These are some of the widely used applications. So, as you might have seen, that I'll just take an example of Instagram for this time. So, You guys are all using Instagram, right? You can unmute yourself and just be on unmute right now. So Hiren, do you use Instagram as well?
No, I am not using Instagram.
That's okay. I believe that you use any other application like Netflix or Amazon, right? Any other application that you use?
Yeah, Amazon Prime.
Perfect. Brilliant. So it does not matter what application that we use. The example I'm trying to set is that even if we take an Instagram algorithm for an example, someone who is using Instagram will have their feed, and their feed will have a collection of items that they will see when they go onto the application. Now, if you ever see any other person who is using Instagram, for example, it could be your father, your mother, or somebody else, you would see that their feed looks completely different to yours, unless there are exceptions. But yes, the ideology is if somebody is interested more into sports, when they log into their Instagram and they watch their feed, you will find that their feed is primarily filled with most of the sports content, sports news, right? All over the place. Whereas if somebody is more into music or concerts or rap songs or something else, you will see that their feed is filled with the musical content, different artists, and what's happening in the musical world. So basically, we are using the same platform, but the information that we are observing is different. If I take you back to 20, 30 years ago, when people did not use social media, everybody used to watch television for entertainment. That means we used to have same channels, same broadcasting of same content, right? So back in the days, we used to have content like movies, which were being shown at a specific day at a specific time. So back in the day, the difference was that everybody used to see same movies or same content from same sources because we did not have options. So everybody used to consume same things. People used to get newspapers. So everybody was reading the same news. And what that creates is everybody has exposure to the same level of information, which used to be the case 20, 30 years ago, right? But now, with the evolution of data, it has changed drastically. What happens now is if, let's suppose, Hiren is more into political content, right? So he will primarily have very focused content on politics, maybe movies, maybe drama, maybe whatever he's into. So he will see more content into that part, more news into that part. Whereas if we talk about Sai, he might be into sports or something else, and therefore he will get very focused in that domain, whether it is news or something else. Now, what this creates is you have access to very specific information, and why this feed is different. It's about algorithms that are trying to understand what do you click, what do you like, what do you share, what do you engage with, right? So that is why everybody's feed is different. Same thing applies to Netflix or Amazon. If you look at somebody else's, if you log into somebody else's Amazon Prime account or their Netflix account, you will see that someone might have English content all over their feed. Someone is more into Korean dramas, right? Somebody could be into old school movies that they're into. So their feed, whether it is Netflix or Amazon, will be filled with the content that they are more into. Now, why am I telling you this is because everything is in data science. All the applications that you or any user interacts with, it is heavily utilizing artificial intelligence and data science to its core. Whether it is Netflix, whether it is Amazon, whether it is Uber, I'm not sure if you guys have ever noticed, but if you are at any given location and you try to book Uber, it will primarily see in the past, if from the same location at a specific time, if you booked a cab to a specific location. Let's suppose I am in my home, and in the morning time, whenever I'm booking Uber, the very first suggestion it will give me is to maybe travel to metro or travel to my work, because it understands that at this given time, if me as a user is booking an Uber, primarily I go to office. So I could either be going to office directly or I could be using any public transport. So it shows me suggestion accordingly. Whereas if I am at my office and in the evening time I'm using Uber, it will suggest me to either select the option of home or use any public transport, because that's what my past history tells it to. So how is Uber able to identify where exactly do I want to go? And it shows me different suggestions at different time. Everything happens with data science. So data is everywhere. So whatever data you input, whatever places you go, whatever content you watch, whenever you go live on Instagram, watch content, everything heavily utilizes data. And that is why data is generated at an exponential level right now. And the thing is that we do not have a lot of people who can make sense of this data and turn it into insights and help businesses make more effective decisions. That is why today we have a large gap in the skills that the industries need and the people who are getting educated, because most of the skills are outdated. So, this is data science, guys. And we are going to understand how to make sense of the raw data. Where does the data come from? How do we study it? How do we read it? The different tools and frameworks. So we are going to learn everything. I hope that this makes sense to all of you. Let me know if you agree or do not agree with me with what I've explained, or if you have ever experienced what I've just said.
Yes, agree.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, let me take one more example here. Let's suppose I am a business owner and I want to start my own restaurant and I want to sell biryani, let's suppose. Okay. And you are a data analyst, or let's suppose a data scientist, and I come to you and say, hey, I'm in XYZ city and I want to establish a restaurant, but there's a problem. I don't know what should be the effective price of my product. So I'm not too sure what should be the price of per plate biryani that I should be creating so that it sells the highest. Also, I'm not too sure how many plates of biryani in a day I should be preparing so that by the end of the day, I do not have a lot of biryanis unsold, and that's a food wastage for me. I do not have the capacity to store it and I don't want to store it. So I need your help in understanding that in my area, what is likely the price of biryani that sells a lot? If there are any competitors who are selling biryani in my same area, if there are any competitors, then I want you to tell me what should be the effective price of my biryani plate so that people are more interested into buying products from me compared to my competitors. Then also help me understand when in a particular day I should have X amount of plates prepared so that my logistics are on point. Have you understood the problem? Yes, no?
Yes,
Guys, perfect. Sai, what about you?
Yes, sir, I understood.
Perfect. So the problem is that a business owner comes to you and says, I have a XYZ business. In this case, it's a restaurant business. And the challenge that the person has is that he's going to set up a new business. It could be for about pizza or burger or biryani, whatever it is. And the person does not know how should he price, the food elements here. And secondly, how much he should make every day so that he sells off most of it and there is least food wastage. So in this case, you would need to be an expert in data science and different tools. You would use um, Zomato and Swiggy to understand how many people are placing an order of biryani, how many people are placing an order for a pizza, and how does that pattern changes from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursday, and so on. So you could definitely tell that on weekends people tend to go out and order out, right? So on weekends you can definitely say, without being a data analyst, that any restaurant will have more crowd coming in on Saturday or Sunday, right? Because that's a pattern people have. On weekends, people try to go out. So you can say that on weekends you can have more plates of biryani prepared and you will not have food wastage, or less likely. If I'm selling pizza, you could say that I can see that in your region, people are buying pizzas from Pizza Hut or Domino's, but the pricing that they are mostly buying is 400 to 500 rupees. So if you are starting out a new business, I recommend that you have pizzas less than 400 rupees so that you are selling at a competitive price and people will give you a chance. Okay. What is this? These are insights. So the second component here is insights. So as an analyst, when you analyze the data from different sources, you would be telling the business owner that basis on my understanding and my observation with data, I think you should sell X number of biryanis in a day. On weekends, you can have Y number of plates biryani, and the pricing should be this and this. And this way, I can assure you, you will be selling most of the biryanis and you will have less food wastage. This is just an example of what kind of problem can you solve with data science. Okay. Now, we'll quickly move on and see what is the opportunity that we have when it comes to data science. So you can see the global demand of the data talent right now, which is outpacing the supply over 60%. And the level of evolution at this point is very fast. So we have skills coming up, we have new models of AI coming up every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, and it is very difficult to catch up now. So either now or never, this is the situation. So we have to constantly upskill ourselves, be prepared for what's about to come, right? If I talk about the salary structure here, so in India, the average salary starts from 7 lakh rupees to 14 lakh rupees in India. and that is for entry level, and anything experience could have 18 lakhs to 40 lakh plus as well. It's very common. Let me tell you, it is not something that I'm telling you. It is the top 1% or top 2% people who are making this money. And I can tell you from my experience, I have trained thousands of individuals, and most of them have been MBA students and BTech students. They have been placed in big fours, they have been placed in other companies as well. And I can tell you that people do get placed. And from my experience, there are things that differentiates people from who get the job and who take some time before they get that. So we will try to understand what work best for you. Okay. Now the different industries who might be hiring you will be maybe in technological sector, it could be in finance sector, could be in healthcare, could be in e-commerce. It does not matter what domain you want right now. Every domain will have some component of data. Even non-technical jobs at this point, they demand people who understand the AI tools, who understand the basics of AI and tech, and some sense of data. So it works everywhere. Okay. So now finally we'll talk about the roadmap. So this is not the exact roadmap, by the way. This is just some few components. However, I'm going to walk you through with what is the tools that we are going to learn. So we will start with Python for data science. Okay, wherein we are going to learn about the different components that Python has to offer, and why do we need to learn Python. And then we have some important libraries of Python, wherein we have NumPy, Pandas, and others as well. So we learn how do we interact with Python. That is the first component. Once we're done with that, we'll move on to MySQL or SQL for data science, wherein we are going to learn about databases and where the data comes from. We are going to learn different components as to how to interact with that database, how to create a database. And this is, let me tell you, very, very important for anybody who is getting into data field. If you could have only one skill, then I have to say it has to be SQL. If you do not know SQL, it does not matter how good you are with Python or any other skills. Trust me, it does not work at all. You need to have SQL as a core foundation before you can move into this field. Okay? Because before you can analyze any data, you have to import some data. To import the data, you need SQL. Okay? And then we'll move on to advanced SQL, some case studies, and then we'll move on to statistics and probability, which is basically linear algebra. We will try to understand how do we make sense of the data, the charts, the numbers. This is what we are going to learn in this module. And finally, we'll move on to machine learning, which is going to be your predictive analytics. So how do we make predictions based on the past data? What are the different types of machine learning models that we have? Whether it is regression, how do we evaluate those models, classification models? Okay, then we'll move on to advanced machine learnings, wherein we are going to learn about complex data sets, data imbalance, and class weights and thresholds. We'll also learn about feature engineering, which is very important, and model optimization techniques. And then finally, we'll move on to something called natural language processing, which is very popular nowadays. So, how do we make sense of the chatbots? How do we convert text into conversational AI or something? We are going to learn about text processing, sentiment analysis, and things. Finally, we are going to build a machine learning model. We are going to learn about deployment. How do we deploy a particular model? And finally, we are going to make some end-to-end projects as well. I want to help you guys understand the approach to this particular workshop. We are not going to get into a lot of theory. We will be focusing more on the uh, practical part of it. So we will only be doing coding for the most part. Even if I'm explaining something to you, I would only be doing coding right away or showing you some examples. And that's how we are going to learn. So this is going to be completely project-based learning. We are not going to dive into a lot of theory or something. So this is what you can expect going forward. Okay. We are going to understand the basic flow of how do we make sense of data, which includes your loading data, performing exploratory data analysis, cleaning and preparing the data for model building, and finally training the data, and finally making predictions. Okay. I'm going to show you one live demo as well of what is machine learning and how do we basically start predicting something, a very simple model just to show you all these steps into action. Okay. And then once we dive into the course, we will learn each and every component in a very detail, make projects, do live coding, and get confident as we move ahead. Okay. And we are going to make some exciting projects as we move ahead. We'll have you can have some of these projects in your resume also when we are going to finish the workshop, like loan approval predictions. You can have a movie recommendations predictions, sales forecasting, customer churn modeling. And these, I can tell you that these are one of the most popular projects and evergreen projects These were in demand 5 years ago. These are still in demand, and they will be in demand because these are the core fundamentals of how some industries operate. So loan approvals will always be there in demand. Movie recommendation will always be there in demand. Okay. So these are some of the projects, only some of those projects. We'll have more. Okay. Any questions, guys, by the way, for anything that I'm explaining so far? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No, sir.
Thank you. So far, we have understood what is data science and how does it apply to what we are trying to learn, what is going to be the approach, what is a course, the roadmap, the workflow. So what is the career path? Okay, so we can look forward to it like 2 to 3 months or 3 to 5 months to be job ready. I'm not saying that the course will last for 5 months. It's definitely not going to last 5 months. Okay. However, let me tell you that it will take some time from you as well. So you have to invest a lot of time even after the workshop is concluded. So even I could teach you for 2 hours. So once you are done with those 2 hours, you need to invest time personally as well. Your personal effort matters more if you really want to be job ready. Okay. We are going to learn Python fundamentals, statistics, visualization, machine learning projects, and finally hiring or getting hired for the jobs, right? So we are going to build a lot of projects, and this is how the career path looks like for you. Okay, okay. And if you have any questions related to what exactly to expect, what should you do, what things you should focus on, what kind of jobs do you definitely want, okay, you can definitely ask me any questions you want before we move on to the live demo that I want to show you to help you understand how do we actually start into data science and how it starts to solve real problems. Any questions you guys have right now about anything specifically that you want to focus on? Hiren, Sai, any questions so far?
I have no questions, sir.
Perfect. Perfect.
No questions.
So thank you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to share my screen with all of you. And I'm going to show you a demo, a quick demo of how basically we can expect to work on data science here. And let me know if you guys can see my screen. Let me share it again. I think it's not showing. Let me know, guys, if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Is it visible to all of you? Perfect.
Visible.
Perfect. So this application is Visual Studio Code. So in this course, we are going to explore a lot of different tools and frameworks that we are going to learn to basically able to solve the problems and everything. So we have Jupyter Notebooks, we have Visual Studio Code, we have recently Anti-Gravity, which is launched by Google, and we have different tools available. So we are going to explore different tools along the way. So for this demonstration, what we are going to do is we have a data set, and I'm going to show you how do we basically start to predict. Okay. So let's understand what problem that we have here. I'm going to give you a problem. The problem is that we want to predict house pricing for a house with X bedrooms, X bathrooms, and size of Y. Okay. So this is what we are trying to predict. So let's suppose we want to say that there is a house of 2000 square feet and it has 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms or 4 bathrooms. So basis of these features, I would want you to predict me what should be the approximate price in dollars for that particular property. And that's a very real challenge that we have in real estate. Okay. There are other important factors to it. So we are going to build this prediction model and show you. I hope my screen is visible, guys, before I start. Yes, no, maybe. Can you see my screen?
Visible.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the response. Let's start. So the first step that we are going to use is we are going to load or import library. So the reason that we are going to use Python for this project is because Python has a wide variety of libraries that you can use for any use cases. So I'm going to work with two libraries here, which is pandas, and we are going to import the model that we are going to use here. Okay. So what we are doing here is we are going to use two different libraries. One is pandas that basically allows us to work with data or tabular data or data frames. Okay. And then we are importing a model. Now, what is a model? Model basically is like a template. Okay. So you can understand it like this, that to solve a particular type of problem, you need to have a specific template to use. Now, because house price is a number that we are trying to predict, we use certainly regression models. Regression is basically when you want to predict a number. It could be like I have a Royal Enfield and I would want you to tell me, you know, what should be the premium that I have to pay you for this particular motorcycle. So you could say something like, depending on how old your motorcycle is, what was the overall actual price that you have paid to buy this motorcycle, I think that your price of premium should be XYZ. So that is what you're predicting a number, right? Similarly, in this problem, you're predicting a number. So we are using something called regression. So we are using linear regression, which is the second line that you can see. We are importing a model. Okay. Now that the libraries are imported, as you can see, we'll move on to understand what the data is. Next step is going to load the data, which is the main problem here. So first of all, we have to understand where is this data located. So in my downloads folder, I have a data for you for this demo, which is house price. So I have 100 houses of data. So I have data for 100 houses. What is the square feet? How many rooms they have? How many bedrooms they have? And for all those features, what is their approximate price in dollars? Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to create a variable and I'm going to use Python to read this data and say, hey, I have got a data set at this particular location and I would want you to read it as it's a CSV file and then give me in this particular variable. Don't focus on the too much of technical jargons right now because we're just starting out. This is just to show you what we can expect. So this is how the data looks like. Okay. We have got 100 rows and 4 columns. It's basically trying to tell you that I've got a data of 100 houses, how big they are, how many bedrooms they have, how many bathrooms they have, and what is the price in dollars. So basis on this existing data, we are going to train a machine learning model to make predictions of if you have XYZ features like how big it is, how many bedrooms it has, and bathrooms, what should be the price of that particular house. So we're going to start it by next step, which is going to be splitting uh, independent features and the target variable. Now, target variable is basically whatever you are trying to predict. So in this case, I'm trying to predict the price of the house. So that becomes my y, which is your target variable. Okay. And everything else that we already have. So what we know, okay, what we know is x, or you can say independent features. And what you want to know is your y, or target variable. That's all. That's all that we always have. You will always have something. So that is your independent variables. And then you always want to predict something, which is the output. That becomes your target variable. That's how simple it is. So I'm going to say, uh, I have got this entire data set, and I can just drop on the column. I'm going to say in my target variable, just take the price column. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I have this one entire data set wherein I have just 4 columns. I'm taking it and splitting into 2 different parts. One wherein I have all these 3 features and one wherein I have the price. So now you will see that all my, okay. So now you can see that I have got the data here, which is your square feet, bedrooms and bathrooms, and dependent variable is your pricing. So you have this. Now the next step or step 3 will be to uh, initialize a model. Okay. So I told you in the very beginning that we are going to create or predict a number. So for models like number prediction, we have a model called linear regression. So we are going to start with it. Now, what we want is we want to take any variable and we want to, first of all, take this model. And when you put these parameters here, which is your brackets, your model basically comes to life. So now, if I show you, you have linear regression model, which is initiated now. So it's basically like start on. So the model is now working. If I take my cursor to this I button, you can say it says not fitted. What does this mean? It means we have an empty template of a model that has no data in it. It has no training and nothing. It has no patterns. However, We are going to train this regression model with our house prediction data so that it gets trained on specific features and will predict what should be the price of the house based on those features. Let's start to train the model. Okay, so train the model is basically model.fit and provide it the data you have. So my data has some features, which is X, and the prices of those houses is Y. So when I do this, as you can see, the color changes. So now if I take my cursor to Y, it says fitted. Fitted basically means now the model has learned about predictions. Now it knows how to predict the price. That's all you have to do. We started the model and then we trained the model. Now what we want to do is we want to make a prediction. So let's suppose I say there is a new house I'm going to buy, and it will need to have three inputs. So whatever is your input becomes your features, right? So you have to provide what is the input. So because my model is trained on the size, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, it needs three inputs. Okay. So I have to provide the new house. So I'll say the square feet. Let's suppose it is 2,400 square feet. Then I'm going to say the number of bedrooms. So I'll say it has four bedrooms and number of bathrooms is four. If I see, so I have created an input, which is basically this. So I have got three different inputs. It's a three-dimensional, you can say three columns of input: square feet, bedrooms, and bathrooms. This is my input. And basis this, what I want to do is I want to understand what is the new price. So I can use my machine learning model, which is trained, and it can predict. Now, to make a prediction, it needs to have some input, and we just created an input for ourselves. So we'll just pass on that input here. So we are saying, hey, I have got a new house, which is 2,400 square feet, four bedrooms and four bathrooms. And I want you to understand from this model, make a prediction, what should be the price in dollars, and store this in this variable. So when I run this, as you can see, it is showing me the price. So this is the latest prediction. This is an actual prediction of the price in dollars based on this house. Okay. And I can just I can change it. And this answer will change. As you can see, the moment I reduce the size or square feet of the house, you can see that the cost has gone down. Okay. Now, this is not making sense, right? If I just show this to a business leader that, hey, the price is array 3, 4, 7, 5, 7, 8, he will not understand this. So only your technical skills will not help you. As a data analyst or a data scientist, your job will be to interact with leaders who do not have technical language. So you have to explain things in a very simple way. Okay. So I could say like, hey, I'm going to say the price or the predicted house price of the house with the 1,500 square feet, four bedrooms, and four bathrooms is, and then where is your outcome? My outcome is in this variable. I'll just put it here, and I just want the first component, and I can print it. But as you can see, this is still not making sense, right? This number does not make sense. So it is not readable. So to make it readable, what I will do, I'll format it. First of all, I can put a dollar sign. So I can put it here. And then I can say put commas and do this to up to two places of decimals only, because right now it has a lot of decimals. I don't need all of this. So now if I do this, you can see that now it makes more sense. Okay. Any non-technical person can read this information. So it is telling me that now the house that I'm trying to predict, 1,500 square feet, four bedrooms and four bathrooms. The price is approximately $347,000, 578. Okay. So this is how you make it readable. Just to do a quick recap of what we have done, we imported the libraries that we wanted to work with. We loaded the data. Now, data we had was 100 rooms, or you can say 100 houses with the pricing and the features. We took it into two parts, which is your input and the output. Input becomes your X, output becomes your Y. And then we initialize our model, whichever model you want to work with. Initially the model was not fitted, which is just a blank template. Then we train the model with these features of this input, which is your fitted model. Once you have your trained model, which is your fitted model, you just create a new prediction or new sample, and you can just ask it to predict the output. And that's how you get the new price. You could do the same thing to understand what should be the price of the biryani. You could say, hey, the price of your pizza for medium size or large size should be this. You could also say that if a pizza house sells, 10,000 pizzas in a day, you can say that 80% of those houses or pizzas basically will be medium size, because most of the people do not buy small size or large size pizza, they buy medium size pizza. So I think that you should focus more on medium size pizza and price it below 500 to have the most orders possible. Something like that. That is how we are going to solve a business problem. This was a simple demo of what we are going to learn, and we are going to make things a lot more complicated, a lot more fun, because we will make some interesting projects along the way as we learn these things. So yeah, let me know what do you think about this demo. If you make, if you understood something, or if you have any questions, whatever it is, it feel free to ask. Hiren, Sai,
No.
no questions?
No questions, sir.
Okay, perfect. So, just to do a recap of everything that we have done, we are going to focus more on the project-based learning. We'll make some exciting projects, and you can put those projects into your resumes and expect that you will definitely get a better job options. Okay, so we are going to help you build a strong portfolio of projects, help you understand with practical learning, and we have Jay, who is going to help you understand what is going to be the next steps, or any challenges, any specific thing that you want me to focus on during the course. You can let me know right now before I close it. Any questions?
It's a little bit different question
Okay.
regarding the latest trend, regarding
Hmm.
the entropic AI and related this thing, AI
Hmm.
overtaking the different IT jobs and role. What are the chances that uh, AI penetration of in data science industry?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. And I think that's from Hiren, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful question to ask, to be honest. And to be honest, it is already there. It is not going to happen in future. It's already there. So in my job, I'm using different GenAI tools every single day, because that's the thing. Because your competitors are using it. If you don't use it, then you get behind. And so yeah, the penetration is already there. The entry level jobs, most of the jobs are already gone. It's already replaced most of the jobs. Every single day, it is releasing new plugins, which then replace other jobs. So yeah, I'm not going to deny that it's not happening. It is happening, but it is going to create new jobs as well. What are going to be those jobs? People who understand how to use Claude, if you talk about Anthropic, or how do we interact with MCP servers? How do we connect these applications to different applications? How do we automate different stuff? Understanding the responsible AI ethics, what you can, what you cannot do. This is important because I was reading this news today. I'm not sure if you have read this, but I just read this morning. There was a developer who used or integrated Claude Code into his production, and Claude Code deleted the entire production server. For the last 5 years, everything is gone, wiped out. Because when you don't understand the technology that you're working with, right, it can make errors. There is always going to be an amount of risk involved. So, as far as the penetration is concerned, not every business is okay with integrating GenAI tools. So, your job is safe for the most part. You should know how to use these GenAI tools. It is going to help you get better jobs. The roles are going to come, a lot of roles are going to be created. But for those roles, you have to prepare yourself right now. You have to understand how these technologies work in the background. If these fundamentals are not clear, trust me, nobody is going to hire you, even if you know how to use Cloud Code, even if you know Moltbot or automation completely. If they see that you are not good with basics of Python, the basics of SQL, or you don't understand the linear algebra behind it, trust me, it's not going to convert into a real job. So that is the reality, and that's why we are going to focus on the basic foundation first, and then eventually you can build more skills on top of it. So the penetration is already happening. What we have to do is we have to make sure that our skills are aligned with what the industry wants, and There are two types of industries who will have challenges implementing the AI into their workspace. Number one is regulatory bodies. So I used to work in a bank, like I said. So in the bank, it was regulated by RBI in India, and because I was working in a UK-based bank, it was regulated by something called Financial Conduct of Authority. So we had different models to predict fraudulent transactions, and I said we could do this with the help of machine learning algorithms. We could analyze large data and predict everything right away. Uh, but then I learned something from my experience, that because we have customer data, right? So I just showed you that we have data that we have to put in these models to make sense of it. When you're working with businesses, they have customer data, which is sensitive. You cannot allow customer data to go into these tools, because then you're sharing this entire database with third party applications. That's a data leak. So not many businesses are comfortable doing it. They have to have approvals before it. So they are still doing a lot of stuff manually. What I'm telling you right now is that there are different sections of jobs or businesses that will have very delayed integration of AI. So even if you're starting today, you still have chance to make it to those particular areas. Even if you don't know any about AI, you will still get jobs. But the smart move is to learn these foundations and have the basic experience of AI tools. It is going to make your job a lot more easier. You can still get a lot better and safer and secure job, which is going to help you unlock a lot of potential going forward. So I hope I was able to answer your question. Any other questions? I'm more than welcome. Let me know any questions. So Jay, it was all from my end, guys. Thank you so much for joining this session. This was a quick demo of understanding what is data science, how it applies, different things you're going to learn, a small demo, and I'll see you when the classes start. Thank you so much. Have a good day.